What's up guys, Apoxy here, and today I will be going over the 12 best weapons to be using in the new Onslaught game mode. I've recently made a decent amount of these types of videos, and you guys seem to really enjoy them, so I thought this would be perfect. Also, you'll see that I don't have much background footage on high rounds. This is because I didn't want to spend 10 hours obtaining footage, which I hope you all can understand. But I can assure you, all of these weapons are amazing all the way up to wave 50, no matter the difficulty. So I hope the list can help you out, and you can get some tips from the video, and if it does, make sure to of course leave a like and subscribe. But now let's hop right in. The way I want to structure this video is by first talking about all the best weapons for ad clear, starting with the primary ammo weapons and then moving on to the special weapons, and then to end off the video I will go over all the weapons that are best for DPS for the boss fights. So starting with the first primary weapon on our list, we have the Sunshot. And as we know, it has been absolutely destroying an Onslaught. The Sunshot has a trait known as Sunburn, which allows our weapon to fire explosive rounds, allowing us to easily damage groups of enemies. And on top of this, it has another trait known as Sunblast, which makes every target we defeat with Sunshot explode with solar energy that scorches all nearby targets, meaning constant solar funnel blows will cause targets to consistently get scorched and cause a chain of ignitions, which do a great amount of damage. So match the Sunshot up with a nice solar build that causes a lot of scorched, and you will ignite every target in sight, leading to easy ad control for you and your fire team. Truly one of the best exotic primaries in the game right now when it comes to Onslaught. Then moving on to the second weapon on our list, we have the Arc exotic bow known as Trinity Ghoul, which goes in the energy slot. The Trinity Ghoul is my all-time favorite exotic weapon because of its ability to wipe out groups of enemies with ease. And after using it on Onslaught, I can say with extreme confidence that if you match this up with a nice Arc Warlock build with either Vesper of Radius or Fallen Sunstar, you will be set. Because with Trinity Ghoul, anytime we kill a target with a precision kill, our next shot will be able to cause a chain lightning effect to combatants. But if you obtain the Catalyst, any type of final blow with the Trinity Ghoul will give you the lightning shot. So the Catalyst is a must-have to make this bow amazing. This weapon also shoots 3 arrows at a time, meaning we are able to spread out chain lightning effects 3 different directions, causing an easier chain effect to occur, which will make clearing ads an absolute joke because of how easy it is. But yeah, that's all for the Trinity Ghoul. Now looking at the second bow on our list, we have another exotic one, which is the Stasis bow known as the Verglas Curve, which goes in the kinetic slot. This bow works insanely well when matched up with Stasis Beam of Titan, as well as Stasis Warlock matched up with the Osmiomancy Gauntlets. The Verglas Curve has a trait that allows us to obtain stacks that give us a Stasis arrow. When shooting the Stasis arrow directly at a target, we will freeze them, or we can shoot the arrow at the ground to create Stasis crystals. And depending on how many stacks we have on our weapon, we can have anywhere from 1 to 5 Stasis arrows shot at a single time. The reason this is so good is because when we destroy these crystals, they provide a lot of burst damage, and the crystals also freeze combatants on impact. This can help wipe out groups of enemies no matter how high tier the enemies are. Stasis burst can do a crazy amount of damage, especially when we're able to get 5 arrows off at a time. That is why I chose this weapon, because it absolutely shreds through enemies in Onslaught. But yeah, that's all for the Verglas Curve. Now moving on to the fourth weapon on our list, we have our last primary weapon, which is the Zaouli's Bane, which is a solar hand cannon that sits in the energy slot. This hand cannon, as most of us know, is obtained from the King's Fall raid and has some of the best rolls you could ever dream of for a PvE hand cannon. To keep it short, the Zaouli's Bane is a legendary version of the Sunshot, but in some cases it can be better. The god roll you want to have crafted is Explosive Payload matched up with Incandescent. Explosive Payload just allows us to shoot explosive rounds and cause lots of damage to groups of enemies, and then on top of this, Incandescent spreads Scorch after defeating targets, eventually leading to a bunch of ignitions that wipe out waves of enemies. These two perks on top of each other personally make this weapon a great alternative, or even a better version of the Sunshot in some cases, due to it being a legendary weapon that opens up the exotic slot. Then I like to top this weapon off by throwing on a tactical mag matched up with fluted barrel and either a stability or range masterwork, and then you're set. Overall, the best hand cannon in the game when it comes to PvE, and will help you destroy targets in Onslaught. Now moving on to the top special weapons you can be using, I wanted to start the section off of the video with the perfect combo to match up with the previously mentioned Zaouli's Bane, which is the Witherhoard. The Witherhoard is the best exotic grenade launcher when it comes to ad control and works insanely well with the Zaouli's Bane as previously mentioned. The main reason why Witherhoard is so good is due to its ability to spawn weapon blights when shot at targets, causing damage over time effects to every combatant that runs through it. So you can just imagine how good it is in Onslaught with constant waves of enemies running running through specific paths, you can just pre-fire the Witherhoard there and they'll all run through it and take a bunch of damage. Next up, we have the 6th weapon on our list, known as the Forbearance, which is a waveframe grenade launcher that goes in the energy slot. This weapon is obtained from the Vow Disciple raid and is known as one of the most powerful waveframes in the game, and it's also craftable. The role you want to look for on this grenade launcher is first Ambitious Assassin matched up with Chain Reaction. The reason Ambitious Assassin is so good is because anytime we get rapid kills with this weapon, the mag will become overflowed, meaning we can constantly shoot the weapon without having to reload in certain scenarios. Then match it up with Chain Reaction, which makes it so that anytime we get a final blow, the target will explode, leading to us easily getting the rapid kills needed to proc Ambitious Assassin. Then you can mix the magazine and barrel up to fit your preference. I just use high velocity and volatile launch. And yeah, this is one of the best grenade launchers for a reason, and it's also going to be released as a weapon you can obtain through Onslaught soon, so you won't even have to do the raid to get it anymore, which is nice for newer players. Now moving on to the 7th weapon, we have the Indebted Kindness, which is an arc sidearm that happens to shoot rockets. It's insanely overpowered inside of Onslaught due to its insane perk pool and high damage output. For the first perk column, there are a lot of options, but I see a lot of people either running Impulse Amplifier or Beacon Rounds. Impulse Amplifier increases projectile speed, and Beacon Rounds just allow the weapon to have greater tracking, which is good for this kind of weapon. And then for the second perk column, we have Volt Shot, which allows us to jolt targets, which as we know, causes chain effects on all the surrounding enemies. So obviously this weapon would work exceptionally well with a great arc build, but honestly you can use it with any subclass. If you don't know where to get it, you obtain it from the Warlord's Ruin dungeon, which is the most recent dungeon that's come to Destiny. The fact that it jolts and it's a special weapon has made it a very strong option to run in Onslaught, and you should definitely give it a go if you haven't. Now we have our 8th and final ad control weapon before going into the DPS side of the video. The weapon we were talking about last is known as the Deliverance Fusion Rifle from the Vow Disciples raid. This fusion rifle is stasis and it also is a precision frame. The reason I put this fusion rifle on this list is because of its ability to be crafted with Enhanced Demolitionist and Chill Clip. What Demolitionist gives us 20% grenade energy for every combatant we kill, and Chill Clip allows us to easily slow champions and get a stun off on them. This makes it so that we can stun certain champions without having to run the artifact mods needed to do so. This also helps when high health targets and bosses are getting close to your objective because you can freeze them after 3 shots and save yourself some time. This is personally one of the best fusion rifles for keeping champions and high health enemies under control, and is why I chose to put it on this list. That's all for the Deliverance and the ad control side of this video. Now we're moving on to the DPS side of things and see which weapons are good when it comes to the boss encounters. The first weapon I want to start off with is actually a special weapon that does some pretty good damage. The weapon in question is the Exotic Sniper, the Izanagi's Burden, which sits in the kinetic slot. As most of us know, recently snipers have become pretty popular when it comes to DPS, and this happens to be one of the best. The reason this exotic stands out is because of its trait known as Honed Edge, which allows us to turn the 4 bullets in the mag into 1 high damaging shot. This allows us to get some quick damage off, while also being able to run a really good rocket launcher to complement it, such as something like Apex Predator. I sadly don't have the catalyst for Izanagi's, but if you do, it provides a nice damage buff with the consumed bullets. This has been one of my favorite special weapons to be using lately when it comes to boss DPS, and it's definitely worth using. Next up, we have another sniper that, as we all know, is popping off right now, which is the Whisper of the Worm, and is also now craftable. The reason this exotic sniper is so good is because of its trait known as White Nail, which makes it so that anytime we successfully land 3 precision hits, our magazine will be refilled. So if you are good at hitting headshots, you will never have to reload this sniper, resulting in a ton of damage being put out. Also, it has its own version of box breathing known as whispered breathing. Whenever you aim down sights for a brief moment, you are granted bonus range and damage, which is huge. Overall, one of the best damage snipers right now, especially if you're fighting bosses with a huge crit spot that doesn't move too much. Obviously in Onslaught you can't really guess the bosses, but it's definitely worth putting on if you really trust your shots. I'm honestly really happy this sniper made a comeback and is being used so much right now. But enough of the snipers, now we're moving on to a very powerful exotic rocket launcher known as the Dragon's Breath. This rocket launcher is so good because of the amount of scorch and ignitions it puts out when fired. This is because with its trait, the longer you go without firing the weapon, the more scorching fuel the weapon will fire. So if you use this weapon correctly with the catalyst and put it into your rotation, you can get a lot of damage off with your special weapon, and it can keep switching back to your rocket launcher to just output a crazy amount of damage with ignitions and scorch. This weapon does insane damage, but just make sure you don't just constantly ammo dump it. You want to let the weapon charge, so make sure to keep switching back and forth with either your fusion or whatever and back to your rocket launcher so you get the maximum damage output. But for sure, one of the best DPS rockets right now. And then last but not least, we have the final DPS weapon on the list, which is the heavy exotic bow known as the Leviathan's Breath. This bow is so good because of the amount of damage you can put out with very little effort. And what its trait, Big Game Hunter, does is that whenever you shoot it and hit a target, you produce a concussive blast that knocks targets back and does big damage that can also stun certain bosses for a brief time. I would really only recommend using this bow if you have the catalyst because it provides a lot of extra ammo reserves, which is important. But yeah, this bow is extremely good, and if you're worried about missing your rockets or your sniper shots, you can put this on to easily put out lots of damage and not have to worry about missing your shots, which is nice. But yeah guys, those are the 12 best weapons in my opinion to be using in the new Onslaught game mode in order to have the most success. Let me know what you think about the list below. I made sure to keep a wide variety of weapons so we could hopefully have something for everybody. If you have any other suggestions on videos you'd like me to make that relate to a certain topic, I'm always open for ideas. But of course, I wish you all great success in Onslaught, and I hope this video provided you with a little bit of help. And until next time, my name is Apoxy. Peace.